Rival Sports Pod, covering the New York sports scene and behind the scenes, including the Buffalo Bills, New York Jets, New York Mets, and everything else in New York sports worth your precious time. And now here's Joe Pastor and Glenn Ferretti.
To another episode of Rival Sports Pod. How's it going today, Glenn?
Oh, what's up, buddy? I don't know. This one could get a little fiery.
Perhaps, it's one where, either, and even amongst the Bills fans, it's not just the haters coming out. There's a lot of different ways to, internalize a game that ends the way the Bills game ends, but there's probably a little more to it than just the ending. And then, of course, we're also going to have, I don't know if you want to call it Zach Wilson's coming out party, but certainly a nice performance against perhaps a struggling Eagles team.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say 5-0 struggling Eagles team, but
in that game, that was probably that was the game where they certainly laid an egg.
Yeah, no, yeah, I don't know. That's one way to describe it, but you could also describe it as a defense that takes over a game completely. But I think we'll kind of get into the games in a second, but I think that kind of leads me to my first point, which I don't think you're going to like, is that I honestly just don't think the Bills are anywhere near as good as the fans think they are. I think it's a lot of fool's gold. You're coming into the season with the easiest part of your schedule in the first 6 games, and you lost to the Jets. You lost to Jacksonville. I don't really care if you've had to fly there. Teams have to fly there. They shouldn't lose to them. And they really had a chance to lose to the Giants, who are horrible. And if they didn't get that call, who knows what happens? And they're sitting there at 4-2 because they beat the Raiders, the Dolphins, which was obviously a good win, and Washington. So it's like there's a lot of, I think, I don't know, people that are just thinking they're better than they are. Like, I don't know, like, what the stamp of the Bills is through, like, the first 6 games.
I'd put a stamp on them this way. The offense is 3-3, right? The offense was on fire against, bad teams, whether it be the Raiders and the Redskins, and then was on fire against the Dolphins when they needed to be. The defense is 6-0. None of those games that they lost was on the heels of the defense, and especially with the injuries that the defense have had, the way that they're playing is nothing short of miraculous. And it speaks to, I think, the depth of the Bills bench, and also the defensive coaching going on there by McDermott. He seems to be really the only guy that's really figured out how to stop and slow down that Miami offense. And offenses across the league seem to be struggling, except the Dolphins offense and the Niner offense, which run like similar schemes. But like, if you look at, the Cincinnati's probably not fair to say because Burrow's been hurt, but like the Chiefs don't look like the Chiefs.
No, they don't.
Even though the Eagles are winning, you could say that Hurts doesn't look what he looked like before. He's got more interceptions, I believe, already in this season than he had the entire year last year. It's Swift's been playing nice for them, but that's the interesting thing is that offenses are down, across the board. So I think, like, if you look at the Bills in isolation, the offense, it's easy to get really down on them and think that it's a bad offense. And I think they need to play better. Don't get me wrong, but I think if you look at it holistically and don't just look at like the highlights of teams, making plays every week, the Bills offense needs to get better, but might not be as bad, as some of the fans make it out to be.
Yeah, but I think, though, like you said, you're putting a stamp on the defense, which obviously hasn't let up a lot of points, but you're also talking about by far the easiest part of the schedule. You put any above average team or right around average against that schedule, they're probably not going to get tons of points scored against them. Like, Vegas isn't scoring a ton of points. The Jets aren't scoring a ton of points. They're scoring a little bit more than others. And I don't know what, the Jacksonville game, they obviously played a good game this week, but they played another crappy team. It's hard, it's hard to say that, like, I don't know, when I look at them, like, I look at a 3-3 Jets team compared to a 4-2 Bills team, and I don't see that the Bills are that much better than the Jets right now.
So the thing is I look at a Jets team and they're certainly overachieving. I would be surprised if the Jets advanced far in the playoffs. I would not be surprised if the Bills advanced far in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, it's great that you're even considering a playoff team at this point. So that's
are you
always a good
telling
thing.
me? Are you telling me you wouldn't be surprised if the Jets went to like the AFC Championship game?
No, I'm not. Well, it depends on who the quarterback is. If Aaron Rodgers comes back, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised with this defense.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's out there. He's out there throwing passes.
Yeah,
I wonder what kind of weird therapies like he's getting, like what kind of like shamans and like maybe making all sorts of pummices out of like weird herbs and psychedelics and like rubbing them into his Achilles and such.
Yeah,
Maybe
I know.
some seance, and I could imagine all of the things that this guy possibly has done.
Dude, he
for
literally,
his
I mean,
rehab, conventional and unconventional.
yeah, I agree. And he's probably, I mean, he takes it so seriously, and that's why he's probably getting the results that he's getting. I mean, he's changed his diet, like he's changed literally everything. But, you look at, let's say, why should I be surprised? The Jets beat the Bills. They beat the Eagles. They took the Chiefs outside of a terrible call at the end of the game, had a chance to win that game. Like, so what is the surprising? We laid an egg against the Cowboys and the Patriots, but I would feel a lot more.
Are they the Giants of last year? A team that is just overachieving.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so with that type of defense. Like it's hard to say that. I mean, we played with backups for the majority of the secondary, actually the whole secondary, and had 3 interceptions. Quincy Williams obviously playing out of his mind. But I'm saying we can put our stamp on, like, we know we're going to be in every game if Zach Wilson doesn't F it up, because the defense is so elite. Like, I'm not sure the Bills will be able to say that when they get into the tougher part of the schedule, is that the defense is that elite, that they're going to be in every game. Like, they're going to need Allen to be Allen. Like, we're going back and forth on text messages, not me and you, but other people, about how amazing of a game Josh Allen played this week. And I was like, dude, why? Because he completed that one pass to the tight end that was in between guys. Great pass. But at the end of the day, he was like 19 of 30 for 169 yards against a horrendous Giants team. The Giants are horrendous.
However, they are horrendous. However, what I was saying going into this game is the big boogaboo is, who knows Allen better than Brian Dable? I mean, Dable might know Allen better than McDermott. You look at the embrace that they had with one another after the game.
Yeah, they're clearly not friends.
He has said the embrace between Allen and
they love
Dable.
each other. Him and McDermott hate each other, obviously.
Not the awkward handshake. Now was that a hate each other, or was that just we just played a game against each other? I just want to shake your hand and walk away.
I don't know. A lot of big time coaches play games against their so-called like previous coach or whatever. They're usually not embraces like that. There's definitely more to the story than that.
Yeah, it could be for sure. And you're not going to hear about it from McDermott. I mean, maybe you'll hear about it from Dable, but maybe a little bit more about that later. But yeah, there are certainly a lot of question marks about the Bills. Don't get me wrong, but like back to Allen, looking at that game, there's a lot to be concerned about. That's 2 games in a row where the Bills offense was asleep the first 3 quarters. Concerning.
Yeah, 0 points. Yep.
However, another way to look at it is, like, I remember for years, New England being in primetime games, Brady struggling the whole game, going to bed thinking the Patriots were going to lose, and then waking up being like, oh, wow, Brady led them on a drive with 2 minutes left, and they won. Like, Allen was 11 for 11 before the pass was a little low, but I'm sure Knox would say he should have caught it. And he probably did say that. I just haven't heard it. That he was good when he needed to be, did what he needed to do. And keep in mind, we're seeing, I think, a version of Josh Allen that's playing much more conservative. We're not seeing any of the power runs. We're not seeing designed runs and called runs. And that's probably a good thing right now during the easy part of the schedule. I don't think that's over. We're going to see that again. The question is when. Are we going to see that in Veld when they run through that buzzsaw of when they play like the Eagles, Chiefs, and Cowboys? all back to back? Are they going to wait into the playoffs to, unveil that element of the game? Because the thing about the Bills offense is it's basically the guaranteed is, Allen to Diggs is going to work, right? Like that's going to work. Even when they weren't scoring points, he's completing passes to Diggs, but then it would be first down, second down.
He has to.
First down, second down,
he'll cry all
third
day.
down.
He'll
punt.
cry the whole game if you don't.
Well,
So
I don't know how
yeah.
much I believe in that narrative.
No, I'm not saying he wants to leave. I'm just saying if he doesn't get the ball, he's going to cry.
Well, I think he's just a competitive and a great leader. The more I watch it this year, I just think it's more of a narrative woven by the media that's more interesting to make him the crybaby.
That sounds like a Bills fan answer.
But the thing is when the Bills offense is clicking, there's another number 2 option, right? Whether it was Cole Beasley in the past or the games when the Bills offense was doing well, we saw that number 2 guy. That number 2 guy was Cook, whether he's running the ball or catching the ball. But other than that, if you look at the Bills receivers, like Davis has like 300 yards receiving. And then after that, it's a bunch of guys with 100. Like
it's
Knox
bad.
is averaging
it's really bad.
six yards a catch. So someone else has to step up. And I almost wondered, like, Cook didn't start the game. And I was wondering, like, is this a message like McDermott is kind of like sending to Cook, like, you better get it going or we're going to put someone else in there because we need another piece in there besides just the Allen to Diggs show.
Yeah. I mean, I read a lot of things. I mean, it's as crazy as it is, but it's like, are we going to look back in like 7 years from now and be like, man, we already saw the best seasons of Josh Allen? Like, is this now version of him going to be what it is unless they change things up? Like,
I think in some ways Josh looks better than ever. In terms of like the knock you always had about turning over the ball, being reckless, trying to be Superman. He's a fullback, you know, you don't see him doing those things. You see a much more controlled version. And then when the game's on the line, like when he scrambled around and threw the go ahead touchdown pass, you saw that old version of Allen where he fit that in a very narrow window. And if you looked at the all 22 of that play, nobody's open. Yeah. Everybody is covered pretty tight. Diggs is kind of open coming across the field, but he's on the left side. Allen's going to his right. So there's no way he probably even saw that, much less probably could make, well, who knows? Allen probably could make that throw. Who knows? But
yeah.
So how he fit that ball into that window.
Yeah, I'm not debating. Obviously, that was a great play. But I know you brought up the Tom Brady reference of, bringing back in late games and things like that. I'd be very shocked if there was a lot of games where the Patriots were 15-point favorites in a game that went down to the wire. It'd be really interesting to look at and just see because I mean, this was like, we got the backup quarterback, Saquon Barkley, coming off an injury.
Mm-hmm.
They have no receivers that do anything ever. So your defense is probably going to hold them to pretty much no points. And like you can't even really name guys on their defense, outside of a couple of their linemen, obviously Lawrence and Leonard Williams.
Yeah.
But there's no way if we would have talked about this before the game that you would say, oh, the Bills were going to win 14-9. And Allen was going to throw for under 170 yards passing against this team.
But I would have been surprised if the Giants covered.
Yeah, covered is covered.
I would have been surprised. I would have been surprised if you told me that the Bills would have scored less points than they were favored by.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
I wonder how many times that has happened when the favorite has scored less points than they were favored by and won the game. Can't be many.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it's not. But I guess what gives you confidence that going through this stretch of games and barely coming out 4-2 makes you think you're going to repeat that against a tougher part of the schedule? To me, I could see the Bills being like a barely over 500 team this year, unless things change.
Anything's possible. I'd be surprised if they won less than 10, but anything's possible. I think the way Josh Allen is playing, you did see the other really encouraging part is I've talked a lot about how you don't see these creative goal line plays from Dorsey, and the one where they had Diggs going across the formation and Hardy's wide open to just flip it to him and he could jog in, was encouraging to see that play call.
See, that's like to say like they might win 10 games. Like to me, that's like that doesn't happen with like elite level quarterbacks and elite level game.
I
Well, I'm
didn't say
saying
they
you
might
said
win 10 games.
no,
I
I'm
said
saying you're saying I could see a scenario where they win 10 games. It's like think about all like the great quarterbacks. Like they don't go 10-7. Like you know, they go 13 and whatever. They go 14-2. I mean, before there
it's
was
a hard
18
schedule,
games.
though.
I don't know.
It's a hard schedule,
but
and
I'm
it's a
saying
hard
it doesn't
week.
matter it
Look
doesn't matter who it is.
Look what happened this week. The 49ers lost to the Browns with PJ Walker as their quarterback. The Jets beat the Eagles. I mean, literally anything could happen in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, and the Niners one's difficult, but obviously they lost their two best playmakers too. That's you can't leave that out and say they would have lost to them.
But they still had Ayuk. They still have Ayuk. They still have Kittle. You know, that offense is supposedly this plug and play offense where anyone could be successful in it. And I
agree. Yeah, I agree. Well, clearly they were wrong. I mean, just based on this game, is that it's tough to replace Samuel and Christian McCaffrey.
Mm-hmm. Well, Samuel's more of the past couple of years, not 2 years ago, but last season and this season, he's more of your highlight reel player. Like if you look at his numbers, he's not consistently producing. What he does is he makes these, circus plays that show up on the highlights. But if you look at his stat line, or if you look at his production as a fantasy player on a week-to-week basis, he's not the guy you want in your lineup.
No, he's not consistently producing big numbers, but I could think of a couple plays where he's made some huge plays this year. I mean, obviously the huge blow is losing Christian McCaffrey.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
So I mean,
I think that there are question marks, about the Bills for sure. And is the thing that a lot of Bills fans are saying is where's Dalton Kincaid been? Obviously he was hurt. But they're just more of throwing it to him in the flats, going east and west. They're not using him kind of like the way Detroit is using their rookie tight end. So like, where's that?
Yeah,
like,
Laporta.
Laporta. That's all they really need is this other second option on the team. And then that's when you see them tear it up. And I want to say that shouldn't be hard to do.
Right. I think they're a creature of consistently doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Same look of the team, just another year goes by, and typically you don't just get better and better and better.
Well, you have seen some other changes as well. Like you're seeing them play more under center. When I say more, it's like 10 out of like 70 snaps.
Right.
They're going in there under center. But again, that's a little bit different of a look. So you are seeing some little tweaks in there, for sure. And that works very well. Josh is I think he's the highest rated play action passer in the NFL, rated very highly when they're under center too, albeit of course they don't do that very often.
Right. Yeah, no. I mean, I don't know if I'm watching that, and it seems like Dorsey continues to just come up over and over and over again. That maybe he's part of the problem of just why we can't like consistently be good week in and week out.
Yeah.
There's always something that happens.
So that's the question, is whose fault is it that we don't have that second option? Is it Dorsey's fault in the play calling? Is it a personnel thing where the player is just not on the team? Is it Josh's fault that he only trusts Diggs, and maybe it's not his fault? Maybe he's the only guy he can trust to consistently make plays.
I mean, it would be hard to argue that it's not somewhat personnel. I mean, you can look at just the way Gabe Davis catches the ball sometimes. And it literally looks like a kid in high school that it's like his first ball thrown to him that he's like so nervous he's going to drop the pass, and he's like tucking it away with like two arms. It's like, big time receivers, dude. They just have the hands and they just catch it and go. And, they might drop a couple because their body's moving faster than their hands. But they're not worried about stuff like that. Like you don't see Diggs making catches like that. You don't see Garrett Wilson making catches like that. Like he is a major concern. as a
Yeah.
second receiver. It's like
Yeah,
if you wash away the Pittsburgh game or whatever the hell it was last year where you had
yeah,
2
yeah.
million yards, you're like, this guy sucks. Like,
Yeah,
it's
well,
like
you'd also have to get rid of 13 seconds, but I do see your
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what Bills fans have said about him is this guy is not a upper tier number 2 receiver.
Yeah, we got 2 games that we could point to in like his entire career. It's like, well, that's probably a problem.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. A lot of
I
people
don't-
wanted an upgrade there. That's why a lot of people were talking about bringing in other receivers, and just hasn't happened. Who knows? There's people wanted to bring in Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah.
Which of course, Steve Smith advises against,
Yeah.
saying
he
that
would
he's
not
too
bring him in.
sensitive, which is very funny that Steve Smith is criticizing people for being like too sensitive and not being able to take criticism, because here's a guy that would fight anybody, including like his own teammates.
Oh, yeah.
At the drop of a dime.
Yeah, he's definitely a me guy.
Yeah, and if you also, I saw their stats throughout wherever Jerry Jeudy is in his career versus the start of Steve Smith's career, and Jeudy is better.
Is he?
Yes, but that being said, they throw the ball more now. I mean, maybe not Denver. I don't know. They run the ball a lot, but it's a little different of an NFL.
They run
now,
the ball a lot with a $300 million quarterback. It looks like Mr. Unlimited can't get the ball out to Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, I don't know what's going. At least we're not that, right? I mean,
Right.
No,
I think it's I think it's an interesting debate between the Jets and Bills, and I didn't think it would be sitting here at the end of week 6. I don't know where I expected us to be. I think I definitely thought the defense would continue to play well. Zach Wilson, obviously he's managing the games very well. I would say he's actually taking us way, up and down the field way more than we have in the past, but we're obviously not scoring any touchdowns, which is a huge problem. And, a lot of teams are like, well, and Robert Saleh talks about this, like, yeah, eventually we'll start putting them in. It's like, not really. Like, sometimes there are teams that are just terrible in the red zone and like don't score a lot of touchdowns. So I don't buy into the, like, we're all of a sudden going to start putting it in.
Is it also a matter of just like not used to being there? Like the Giants, and Tyrod Taylor audibling to the run and
horrendous.
The half ending, and then the Jets being in that situation at the end of their game where Hall probably should have fell down at the goal line so they could have chewed some more clock. But because both teams haven't really been in that situation a lot,
I didn't really hate that as much.
You see the mistakes.
The Hall situation, just because they had 2 timeouts. That was the only concern for me, is that, all right, he stops there, and then they use both their timeouts, and then what if they stop us on 3rd down, and then we have to kick a field goal? And then we're kicking off, and they only have to get in field goal range. So we score a touchdown and guarantee that they have to score a touchdown. I don't think it's it's not like a bonehead play of the year.
It wasn't like the Miami play where they should have taken the knee. The Hurricane game.
That was just horrendous. But I actually put it more on Philadelphia that they didn't try. Like, I would have thought that they'd want to keep us out of the end zone to try to only have to kick a field goal to win the game. Like, to put yourself down a touchdown score where you have scored nothing in the second half.
Yeah.
It just seems like that's an odd decision right there. Like, I'd rather have the ball kicking off with 50 seconds left with no timeouts, and all you have to do is get in field goal range, than a minute 45 and have to score a touchdown where you haven't scored a point in the second half.
And also about that game, what I wanted to say is worst announcers ever. Like, Mark Sanchez is the most boring announcer like I've ever heard. Not like the most annoying, like a lot of the guys that they've had on Monday night over the years, and even on like the Amazon games, more like annoying. But like, he's just so boring.
It's hard for me to like critique him as much because I listened to Romo the last few weeks, and it's like he was literally like rooting against the Jets the entire game because we were playing the Cowboys the one week, and then I don't know if he just loves the Patriots or what. But yeah, Sanchez definitely didn't light the airwaves on fire during the game, but I was kind of happy to move on from listening to Romo, just continue to like fall in love with every other team that we were playing.
Yeah, we like Romo in Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm sure, because he loves Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't do no wrong. But yeah, I mean, the way the Jets finished that game was obviously incredible. You could point to Jalen Hurts having a tough game, but defenses create tough games. I mean, he wasn't having a tough game early in the game. Swift was actually making a lot of plays out of the backfield. They went up 14-3 on us. And I think I saw something. I think we've given up like 31 points in the second half in 6 games. So it seems like we're just very slow starters where we give up like an opening drive touchdown. But once we get to halftime, I mean, people can't even score on us.
A lot of good defenses do that. Like if you look at the Bills defense as well, as they tend to, a lot of games they've given up opening drive or early scores and then buckle down once they see what the other offense is doing and stop them.
Yeah.
One thing that I'm thinking about is like, what's made you, it seems like in the past 48 hours, you became a lot more confident in the Jets, because after Breece Hall scored, I texted you, wow. And your response to me was, they're still going to lose.
Yeah.
And now you seem, now you seem much more confident.
Well, the game's over now. I mean, it's a little easier when the game's over. I mean, if you've watched any Jets over the last like 30 years, you know that we typically lose that game. But I just think that, the defense is so elite that they're going to keep us in games. And like Zach Wilson, like when I'm watching the games now with Zach Wilson playing, like he actually looks like a competent quarterback that is making quicker decisions. He's getting rid of the ball. He's taking some chances down the field. Obviously, an incredible catch by Garrett Wilson down the sidelines. He had another huge one the previous week. His numbers aren't gaudy. They're actually Josh Allen type numbers from this past week, outside of the touchdown pass. But he's not holding the ball forever, losing it, throwing turnovers, fumbling. It's nice to see him kind of developing and learning. And if he could bridge the gap till potentially Aaron Rodgers comes back, the team will be tough. Like we're 3-3 with Zach Wilson. I was saying before the season started, we're 3-3 out of those first 6 games with Aaron Rodgers. I would feel really good about the team. I mean, I was like, man, we might have been 5-1 with Aaron Rodgers, and then people really would have been having their heads turned.
Does Zach Wilson give you something that Aaron Rodgers doesn't in his mobility?
He doesn't run a lot. He runs here and there.
Not like running. I mean, just like avoiding the pass rush.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps. But I think, Rodgers probably gets rid of the ball extremely fast too. So he's not running for his life as much. And, he's not immobile. But yeah, I mean, no one ever
He probably is going to be if he comes back this year.
Maybe. I don't know. He's out there looking pretty good already.
Yes. So do you feel that Wilson isn't holding on to the ball too long still? Because if I were to criticize him about something, it would be holding on to the ball too long.
Yeah, certain snaps throughout the game for sure, but the majority of his passes, I mean, I feel like they show this stat like every game are getting out within 2.5 seconds. When he holds it, he's not as efficient, and he either tries to run it, which he's happened to do a little bit, or he runs himself into a sack. I mean, he still makes that occasional bonehead decision, like when we were in the red zone on the 5-yard line, he does a rollout, and it's clear as day, just like throw it out of bounds and don't take a sack, and he takes a sack. Or we take a penalty and it pushes us back. So still making dumb decisions like here and there, but I wouldn't say catastrophic decisions through the last 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah. He had that nice stiff arm on that one play.
And it was pretty good.
Armed, yeah, and threw it. I mean, I'll give credit. I'm not going to be a hater like some people of other teams' quarterbacks, but I will give credit when I say that was a really nice play.
It's not even as much. I mean, really, honestly, it's not even as much about Josh Allen. I just am surprised about where they're at and just the quality of like efficiency on offense against teams that like it should not even been close against the Giants. And they lost, like I said, and they lost to the Jets. and they lost to the Jaguars. It's not like, we're talking about teams that are going to be winning the Super Bowl here.
Well, the Jaguars are probably could be a playoff team.
Yeah, they could.
So, I mean,
they seem to be late.
Both of those teams they lost to could potentially make the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't even know. Were they shut out at halftime last week too? Was that
no? They had a field goal, I believe.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but I mean,
they weren't shut out for sure.
Right, but a team, yeah. I mean, I know we beat it to death, but a team of this caliber, a team that's considered, one of the Super Bowl favorites, shouldn't be struggling this much against some of the teams that they're playing. I don't know. It just makes me think, and I've been thinking about it over the last day or so, that I don't know. They just might not be as good as people think they are. They might be a barely above average team.
So then,
we'll see how it plays up.
So who is good in the AFC then?
Yeah, the AFC. I think the AFC has shocked people, is that it's not nearly as good as people anticipate. I mean, you remember before the season, it was like, Kansas City, Cincinnati, the Jets, the Bills, like it's going to be murderers row.
Dolphins, Chargers.
Yeah, the Dolphins, Chargers. Like, who the heck's going to get in? They're going to have all these teams in there. Everyone's going to be fighting. Now it's like, I'm not really that sure. I mean, Kansas City struggling on offense a little bit. I mean, they're still good. I mean, yeah, the other leader is Baltimore, who, hasn't really impressed anyone. So, yeah, I think there's, I know it's hard to say it now because Philly and San Francisco just lost. But if you take this week out, like, they're probably the most dominant teams in football right now.
But you can't. Like, this,
I would say San Fran, you can, because they lost their best player and one of their solid receivers.
But they lost to PJ Walker.
Yeah, I get that, but they didn't give up.
They didn't Browns team. But I would be shocked if they lost to Deshaun Watson.
But it's not like, it's not like the Browns scored like 30 points on them. It was we can't score any points. Brock Purdy played his worst game. He didn't have McCaffrey. I just think there's a little bit more of like, and they actually should have won. I mean, the guy missed a short field goal to lose the game. So let's not forget that the guy actually missed the field goal to lose the game. But I just think the Eagles on offense were primed. They had all their guys, and the Jets had 4 guys out in the secondary. Like, we should not have shut them down the way we shut them down. Defensively, we had holes the entire game. And then same thing on Philly's side. They had a bunch of holes. So I don't know. I would just say that.
But if we're going to dismiss like field goals, right? Because like the Bills missed 2 field goals. Bass hadn't missed a kick all year. It was like 27 for 27. The score would have been, if we want to play that game, right? The score would have been 20-9.
Well,
the spread was 15.
Well, the Giants would have scored a touchdown and a field goal as well if the calls went their way as well. I mean,
well, but then if we want to talk about calls, there was 2 tripping calls on Diggs and Davis on deep calls in the first half that weren't called. So that could be 14.
Yeah, and I'm not even talking about calls as much. More along teams that were injured has a much bigger impact than a couple calls throughout the game. I mean, you take away Josh Allen in the entire second half. How are the Bills doing?
Yeah.
Well, unless you're that confident in Kyle Allen, just because he has the same last name.
If we're missing a running back, it might be a different story.
Yeah, if you're missing
we did miss a running. Yeah.
If you're missing the best running back, it's a very different story.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think, I think it's way more up in the air than anybody thought it was going to be.
Oh, the certainly.
The whole NFL.
The whole NFL is for sure.
Like, who's winning the Super Bowl right now?
And that's the point is, so like, if we're going to say the Bills aren't as good as we thought they were going to be, neither is really anybody else.
Yeah.
Except maybe the 49ers. I don't even think, even though the Eagles are winning, I don't think they looked as good as they did last year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's turning the ball over. I haven't watched a ton of Eagles games, so I don't have too much of an opinion on. I'm trying to look at the games. So they beat New England, Minnesota, Tampa Bay, Washington, and the Rams. So yeah, they haven't played murderers row either.
Yeah. So I mean, I would think San Francisco's probably has looked like the best team in the NFL.
Or the Dolphins, really, outside of the
Dolphins.
Yeah,
beat the Dolphins.
I get it, but I'm saying if you're looking at if you're looking at if you're looking at the entire resume, I would say probably the Niners and the Dolphins look like the best teams for the entire season. The Dolphins haven't laid an egg against teams like Denver. They beat them 70-20. You know, I don't know if I don't think the Dolphins played the Giants yet. They might have. I have no idea.
I don't think they have.
Yeah, the Dolphins haven't struggled in any other game besides the game against the Bills.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to argue that they're not one of the best teams right now.
Oh, for sure. For
So-
sure. But again, what does that say about the Bills and the Bills defense then?
Yeah, I don't know. I would look at 6 games over 1. That's what I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've been good all 6 games, Bills defense.
Yeah. The Bills or the Dolphins, beat the Chargers, New England, Denver. They beat the Giants 31-16.
Oh, they did beat the Giants. Okay.
And Carolina this week 42-21. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting debate. I think it's obviously, if you can have this kind of conversation, it means it's probably more wide open than others. But I think we're probably going to learn a lot in the next 3 weeks. You know, when we're sitting here, if we're talking about a 5-4 Bills team, or a 3-6 Jets team, or a 6-3 Jets team, I just think we're going to learn a lot.
The Bills' schedule coming up isn't that bad. It's like Denver.
No, it comes
Tampa.
up towards the end of the season.
Yeah, it's Denver, Tampa. Is it Denver, Tampa, Dallas in the bye?
Yeah, so let's see. Like, if they struggle in those games?
It's maybe Denver, Tampa, Philadelphia bye.
I have it right. I have it right here. You got New England, Tampa, Cincinnati, Denver.
Yeah,
I know.
Then
look at it: Jets, Philly, Kansas City, Dallas, Chargers, New England, Miami. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying.
Are the Chargers good though?
I don't think they're good, but I don't think they're horrible. But this was your easy part of your schedule.
Yeah, and they're 4-2.
Right.
That's okay.
Yeah, but I'm talking about where you expect them to dominate most games.
Mm-hmm.
They lost to the Jets, lost to the Jaguars. I would say, if Bills fans, they would have said the only loss if we looked at this first 6 games, you would have said 5-1, if not 6-0.
I had them at 4-2. I had them losing. I had them
probably the only Bills fan that had them at 4-2.
I had them 4-0. Then I had them losing in London. Then I had the Giants coming in and beating them based on Dable's knowledge. And then Bills fans losing their minds because we were 4-0 and then we lost 2 games in a row.
I could see the London game.
That's what I was expecting to happen.
I could see the London game, and they don't play well against Jacksonville. It seems like historically now for the short history of Jacksonville. But I don't think there's one Bills fan that thought you'd be less than 5-1.
The Giants are supposed to be good.
But it's a home game. It's the Giants at home.
Dable was coach of the year last year.
It's still the Giants at home. You guys were a top-end team. They were, like you said, a fringe playoff team that was kind of smoke and mirrors. I would say probably before the season, you would have probably had 5-1 and then a potential loss to New England at New England this week coming up, which I think has completely flipped on its head too. So
I had them 4-2, and I had them winning. I had them winning 11 games this year.
Okay,
this was what I said going into the season.
Well, pre-Aaron Rodgers, I had the Jets winning 12 games, so not looking so good. Not looking so good anymore. But I still have us getting to 10 wins. Because our season,
your hard schedule's, kind of passed.
We completely flip-flop the rest of the season, where we got an off week that I'm going to the Giants game at New York. Then we got the Chargers, Vegas, Bills at Buffalo. That'll be a tough one, against Miami at home. But then we go Atlanta, Houston, Miami, Washington, Cleveland, New England. Like, we could go 6 of 7 to end the season. We got
let's say you lose to Miami twice and the Bills. That would be what, 6 losses?
Yeah, I would consider that. Yeah, the losses.
Yeah,
Chargers will be a swing game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Houston is the slouch people thought they were going to be. I'm not saying they're good or a playoff team.
But, if we lose to Houston, we don't deserve to make the playoffs. That's the way I look at it.
See, Stroud seems to be a good quarterback.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying he's bad, but if we're losing to...
But they're still Houston.
Yeah, if we're losing to Houston, we're losing to, every good team. It's like that's just every other mediocre team that misses the playoffs by 1 game.
Okay.
You gotta win some of those games. And so far, this is a not typical Jets season. Like, we do not beat the Eagles and Bills and barely lose to the Chiefs in the first 6 games. Like, that just is not normal. It's probably the hope that we'll be crushed as the season goes on. But it's a nice place to be without your starting quarterback. I would say there's not a lot of teams that would be on their backup quarterback that would be in this position right now. And obviously, it's 99% defense.
Well, that's the thing about sports, is that they're so unpredictable. I mean, even baseball, like we scoffed at the idea of DeGrom when he said, "I'm going to go to Texas to win a World Series."
Oh, I know.
Now look at the position they're in.
I know. I hope they lose the next 4.
Would you rather the cheaters?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
I'm
especially with
conflicted.
Scherzer, because he absolutely stunk when he was with us. So last year in the playoffs, he was a disaster in big games. So yeah, there's no way. I mean, he's whatever. He's got his World Series rings. Like, he's not losing sleep over not winning one with the Mets. So
No.
if he gets it, great. But I would root for the National League team over both of those teams anyway.
Even if it's the Phillies?
Yeah, I think I would. I mean, I don't know. They're fun to watch, dude. Bryce Harper's, he's amazing to watch. He was on McAfee, dude. He had one of the greatest answers ever when they asked him about, like, pressure and playing in these games. And he was like, you want to talk about pressure? He was like, when I was 16 years old, I dropped out of school, got my GED, and had to make it in baseball. He's like, I had no choice. It was the only way I was going to be successful. He's like, now in my early 30s, he's like, this is the fun part. Like, this is the cake. Like, I've already made it. So he's like, there's no pressure up there now. He's like, try being a 16-year-old kid making it happen.
I wonder if that's why he's so cocky and arrogant. But you heard the Phillies.
You say that though, cocky and arrogant, but man, does he deliver.
Mm-hmm. He does, for sure. But they were singing that song in the. Did you hear the song they were singing in the clubhouse?
Yeah, they're hating on the Mets, dude. I think it's funny, dude. I wish we were them. Honestly, it just makes me envious of being them. Like, think about, like, we've had so many cocky players on our team,
for sure,
that just don't deliver. So it's like it's completely opposite. I know Mets fans were like, "Oh man, like, that's so disrespectful." I was like, dude, I just wish I was them. That's all it made. Yeah. I wish we could sing a song about another team. Because it's point. Like, honestly, it's like, how lame is it? You're singing about a team that's out of the playoffs. We didn't make the playoffs. Our team was under 500. Yeah. Who's singing a theme song about them?
Yeah, I wasn't like, disrespected. I was just like, screw them. That makes me hate them. Makes me hate them more. Yeah. Like, the question is like, who do I hate more, the Phillies or the Braves?
But who gives a crap about the Arizona Diamondbacks?
They have swifted. Oh no one cares about that.
Yeah.
The only time they were maybe even relevant is when they had Randy Johnson, and it was because of Randy Johnson.
I know. And the only other time I liked him was when Luis Gonzalez hit a bloop single over Derek Jeter's head. That was the only other time I cared about them and was rooting for them.
Mm-hmm. But speaking of cocky players, Santa's got a gift here for T.O.
Oh, T.O.? Hopefully it's like a
Terrell Owens.
Yeah, didn't he just get hit by a car?
It's a pedestrian crossing sign. It's classic. Too soon, Santa. Too soon.
He wasn't hurt.
No, he was not. So I guess that's why I don't think Santa would have made the joke if T.O. was hurt. But there was certainly
if anyone knows you, that Santa might have made the joke anyway.
But there's another cocky player who, I don't know, did he deliver? I mean, may have not have won the
definitely.
He delivered, because I mean, he did play that Super Bowl with the broken finger that they lost to the Patriots.
Right. I mean, that game was unbelievable that he played that in. I don't know. I mean, where do you rank Terrell Owens? He's got to be like top 2 receivers of all time. I mean, Jerry Rice, Terrell Owens.
What about Moss?
Moss. Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean.
What did Moss win besides with New England?
He's 2 or 3. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I feel like he's right in that mix.
Mm-hmm. Maybe Andre Reed.
I know. Yeah, Andre Reed. No, he's not even anywhere close. What are you talking about?
I'm just kidding. Steve Largent. Would you put him in there?
No, I mean, it's hard, man. You got Chad Johnson. Some of these. Receivers
Megatron.
receivers like an interesting group. Like you could name a lot of guys that are in the top echelon of receivers.
Yeah.
And Jerry
Big game, Torrey Holt.
Yeah, Jerry Rice is like the one guy that just sticks out, but then there's just a slew of guys that could probably fill the like 2nd through 7 slot.
Well, because the thing about Jerry Rice was he was dominant for just like so long. Like I brought up Megatron, who was just good for a short, he retired, but was good for a short period of time.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't believe you didn't bring it up. I heard the Bills are hosting Touchdown Lenny, so they might not be as high on James Cook as everyone thinks here with Leonard Fournette.
Yeah. Well, it's to replace because Pierce got the sprained neck, concussion protocol. Who knows when he's coming back?
Yeah, thank God he's healthy.
But the Bills like to rotate those 3 running backs, that they have. But I was wondering, like, to what extent was Cook not starting? Was that a message, or was it just is what it is?
Had to be somewhat of a message, I would think. He's not even as old as I thought when I looked him up too. He's only 28 years old. I thought he was much older, but I guess that's ancient for running backs. But I also saw because
Latavius Murray is the oldest running back. He's 33.
Yeah. I actually saw the Eagles sign Julio Jones too.
Yes.
I'm like, that guy's so washed.
Yeah. I'm glad the Bills didn't sign him just to add a name.
No, I'm hoping honestly that the Devontae Adams just keeps getting like 3 balls thrown to him a game, and he's just going to get pissed off and ask for a trade out. And the first place he's going to wind up is with the Jets.
They got the cap room.
I think we have so many guys to offer too. We might lose a dominant player, but you get a chance to bring in Devontae Adams and pair him with Garrett Wilson. I think you're going to do that all day long. Probably. Yeah. The pass rushers are insane. The biggest name that everyone talks about is Bryce Huff, whose stats are like elite right now for edge rushers. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it's definitely a good week for both of us. I'm a little partial to our team, obviously, since you guys squeaked it out thanks to the refs. But I don't know. It's an interesting.
And Josh Allen's heroic drive in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, it was.
How many other quarterbacks not named Allen or Mahomes could make that play?
Probably Baker Mayfield.
He doesn't have the arm strength, I don't think. He's got the mobility, and he's got the moxie to try. I don't think any 2 other players have the mobility and arm strength.
How many other quarterbacks could make the throw, but they just don't make SportsCenter with it because their names are not Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes? I've seen like 20 other like no-look passes that never make it to the TV screen because their names aren't Mahomes. And it's like the same exact play, but it was an incredible play. I don't think anyone's arguing that.
That was a scramble, throw across his body, across the field, through a small window with a defender bearing down the other way, where if there's not the speed on the ball, that's going to get picked or swatted away.
Well, I agree. It was a great play, but life on the line. If somebody said, Joe, you have to pick one, Josh Allen over or under 170 yards passing tonight against the Giants when you're 2 touchdown favorites, I would love to hear your answer to that one prior to the game happening. I'm sure you would have rolled the dice on the
I think we know what everybody's answer would be to that question.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. Was this a telling week for the Bills? Or did Dable just have his number? I think we're gonna find out over the next few weeks what these teams are made of. That's what makes it exciting. I like years like this more than other where it's way more unpredictable. I know Chiefs fans probably don't feel like that. I'm sure they like to dominate, and Patriots fan, but we haven't had NFL seasons like this where it's that wide open for a long time. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, if not one of the most wide open seasons ever.
Yeah.
Because even before the Patriots, you had where like it was either the Cowboys or the 49ers,
I know. I heard a thing the other day where someone was like, Trent Dilfer is really hoping that Zach Wilson makes it to the Super Bowl. I was like, no offense to Trent Dilfer. I like the guy, but like the guy threw like mushroom balls. Zach Wilson has way more arm talent than Trent Dilfer ever had.
Zach Wilson's a good athlete.
Yeah, it's like that's a tough comparison. Like, I know he won a Super Bowl, but I think Ray Lewis might have had something to do with that.
Yeah, well, I think the situation's similar. Quarterback who people don't think is that good with an elite defense, but Zach Wilson's got potential what Dilfer never had.
Right.
Zach Wilson was the number 2 overall pick for a reason, right?
Right. And maybe he's starting to learn the game a little bit. He's undefeated, I think they said, without a headband. No interceptions either.
Okay. Do you think he started playing well after he saw Kelsey's mom at the game?
I saw that.
So he could be showing out for Kelsey's mom.
He could be.
I mean, that would be one heck of like a Christmas or a Thanksgiving dinner table with all those celebrities there.
I'm sure it would be. I'm sure he has a few good names on his lists already. Good looking guy.
Yeah.
That guy, playing in New York, big time. I think he's doing just fine.
Maybe.
We all know Josh. He knows how to juggle relationships out there in Buffalo. Sometimes
Allegedly.
at the same time.
That's what the rumors say. He's into the celebrity thing himself.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you be? I guess.
No, I'm not. Yeah, definitely not hating on him for that, for sure. Hey, these guys are living large. Yeah. We'll see. Can't wait till the next game. I mean, we're gonna have to make our way to Buffalo. I mean, if this is a competitive division here, there's no doubt we're going to that game.
Go to the game.
But we got a couple weeks before that. Let's see how it plays out.
All right,
big guy.
All right. You have a good night.
Yep. Go Jets.
Go Bills.
Thank you for listening to Rival Sports Pod. Please make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. You can also email us at rivalsportspod@gmail.com with any topics, ideas, or questions.